Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my first contribution to this House, I congratulate you on your appointment as Speaker of the House, and thank you for appointing me to serve as temporary Speaker. I look forward to working with you. I begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the land on which we meet today. I also acknowledge the Wongal people, the traditional owners of the Drummoyne electorate, and pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Mr. Speaker, I stand here today with immense gratitude for the people of the Drummoyne electorate who have elected me to be their Member of Parliament. It is an incredible honour, and the privilege that has been given to me is something I will carry in my heart every day in my service. To my community in the suburbs of Abbotsford, Breakfast Point, Cabarita, Canada Bay, Chiswick, Concord West, Drummoyne, Five Dock, Homebush, Liberty Grove, Mortlake, North Strathfield, Rhodes, Rod Point, at Russell Lee and Warringah. Thank you. I'm a 27-year-old woman, the granddaughter of Italian migrants, the first in my immediate family to go to university, the youngest ever Liberal woman to enter this Parliament. Yeah. Let my election be a message to young people, to women, and to people with last names that are hard for others to spell and pronounce. You belong in this place. Yeah. Like all good stories, mine starts with family. The way I see the world, the values I hold, and my beliefs all stem from my family. It comes from my Italian culture, the way I was raised, and the lessons I was taught through the example of my parents and grandparents. My family's story is just one in a rich tapestry of migrant stories in my multicultural community. Approximately 40% of the Drummoyne electorate is from an Italian or Chinese background. Stories that centre around hope and gratitude for this lucky country, Australia. In the 1960s, my grandparents migrated to Australia from Italy. My maternal grandfather, Giuseppe, was born in Lipari, and my nonna Maria was born in Salina, both part of the Aeolian Islands, located off Sicily. My nonna was the hardest worker I've ever known, and in many ways I inherited his work ethic. But what I am most proud of is that I carry his big heart and his love for people. I often hear the joke that you can't go to an Italian nonna's house without getting fed. Well, that's how it was at my grandparents' house too. At family lunches and dinners, nonna would go around and put an extra piece of meat on your plate. Even if you were full, you couldn't say no, you had to eat it or nonna would get offended. If you stopped by his home for a quick hello, you couldn't leave without eating something. How nonna felt about making sure people ate is often something we make fun of and remember fondly, but really, it's quite poignant. My grandparents knew what it meant to be hungry. They wanted to make sure no one else felt that way. It's the reason they came to Australia and worked so hard, or for their family, so they would never be hungry. My nonna Maria, who's in the gallery today, has passed on many of her recipes to me, and she is the best cook I know. She's warm, caring, wise, and kind, and I'm sentimental, just like her. My nonna was a tiler, and he probably tiled almost every house owned by an Italian in my electorate. No joke, that's actually a lot. As a child, I loved when we visited the CBD, not just because of the pretty sights, but because my dad would point out all the places and job sites that nonna worked on. When I go to the Queen Victoria building in Sydney, I don't look at the many different stores. Strangely enough, and hear me out first, I look at the floors, because my nonna laid the tiles in the QVB building, and indeed laid the tiles in many places and buildings all over Sydney. For me, it's a permanent reminder, and indeed a physical one, of the contributions migrants like my nonna have made to our country. My paternal grandfather is also a Giuseppe. he was strong, stubborn, and undoubtedly Sicilian. He had a heart of gold. He came to Australia alone to try and make some money for his family. He left his widowed mother and settled in Italy. For the first few years in Australia, he worked in Queensland, cutting sugar canes during the season. He settled in Sydney and worked so hard as a factory worker. His proudest achievements were his family and the house he built with my nonna Angela in Concord West. My nonna was a working mum of 4 children. She and my nonno juggled family and work to get ahead. I think I get my independence from her. My nonno would tell everyone that I was his granddaughter. He was so proud. When I got elected to council, he would always make sure to keep a copy of the newsletter that would be sent to each household. The back page of each edition lists the contact details of each councillor. I used to be about 3rd on the list, which I'm told by staff is chosen in no particular order. I went to visit my grandparents one afternoon and I could see that my grandfather was concerned. I asked him, what was wrong? He said to me, "Why have you moved down the list? What did you do?" Well, nonno, my one wish is that you are here to see this victory, because now I'll be sending out my own newsletter as the proud member for Drummoyne. In 2020, my world changed. In the time before that, I'd spent 25 years of my life blessed with all 4 of my grandparents. Sadly, in exactly 1 year and 2 days, my family lost our 2 Mr. Joes, as they liked to call each other. This was a pivotal moment in my life. The grief I felt changed me. I still hold this grief today, but now I have the strategies and the mindset to manage it. I am the biggest advocate for mental health services because of what I've been through. My life felt like it had been shattered to pieces. How do I live without the people that have shaped me? I now realise I don't have to, because their example is enshrined in all I do. Over the past few years, I've been able to gain a sense of maturity that I believe only comes from feeling deep pain. In that time, my family and I cared for my grandparents. We had to navigate death, health scares, personal tragedies, and some really difficult situations. In 2020, my nonno also lived with us. In those few short months, I learned so much about life and about living. I learned qualities of patience. I became very persuasive, often debating with my nonno to eat some food and take his tablets. So, to my colleagues who I will debate in this chamber, watch out, I've had great practice. What I did come to understand is that ageing is a privilege. Time is not something that we are all gifted in this life. Growing old should be treated with dignity and respect. Our systems should not just give up on someone because of their age. If a person shows they are willing to fight, then we must advocate and do all we can to enable them to do so. In this Parliament, we must govern for all people, including those who are marginalised and vulnerable. In my electorate, we have a broad spectrum of demographics, economic and social groups, and we have a diverse, multicultural makeup. It is something I will remember each day of my service. Mr. Speaker, I had the best childhood. I grew up with my family, cousins and friends around me, with many in the gallery today. I have fond memories of making tomato sauce in my grandparents' garage, making homemade pizza in the backyard oven, salami in wintertime, watching my nonno make homemade wine and eating the fruits and vegetables they'd grown in the garden all year round. I want to make sure that we encourage people to connect with different cultures and backgrounds. I would like to see policies that encourage people to learn a language other than English. Learning about different cultures brings perspective and it makes us empathetic. Every person in this place is a product of a strong education system. It's important we invest in our children and we give them opportunities to learn, and particularly to be immersed in other cultures and languages, because we open ourselves to new ways of thinking. Australia is the most successful and free, multi-faith and multicultural country in modern history. And as a representative of a diverse community in this Parliament, it is my obligation to ensure we protect this. I grew up in a household with two sisters. My parents made sure that we always knew we would be judged on who we are as people. We were empowered to be strong-willed, independent, and compassionate. Growing up, I never once felt inferior to my male counterparts. My parents made sure we tried our best in everything and that we treated all people with respect and dignity. At Christmas, my mum took us to the local nursing home to sing Christmas carols. And I still remember as a teenager walking the streets of Drummoyne and door knocking with my sister for the Salvation Army Red Shield Appeal. Funnily enough, that was actually great practice for the door knocking that would come some 15 years later when I decided to run for Parliament. I'm a product of a Catholic school education, an education I'm proud of because it didn't just teach me about subjects and topics, it instilled in me the importance of social justice, of consideration, compassion, and tolerance of others. I went to Drummoyne College in the heart of my electorate in Five Dock. Drummoyne is a school of the Order of the Presentation Sisters, and one where we are inspired by two strong women, St. Joan of Arc and Nan O'Neill. At school, we were taught to light the lantern and keep it burning bright in all that we do and everywhere we go. That message has stayed with me since leaving high school. It is the reason why I feel so strongly about service and of this vocation. I take pride in my integrity, in my character, and in authentically being me. I'm proud of my Catholic faith, and I'm thankful for the way religion has shaped me, and it has shaped my community too. In the last census, Drummoyne had the second highest number of Catholics in the state. My upbringing, my education, my teachers, and my parents all made me believe that I could do anything. And up until my late teens, when I left school and I started university, I believed that. It wasn't until I became an adult that I felt that perhaps women do get overlooked, not because of their ability, but because of their gender. It's something many of us in this room know all too well. I want to work for a society, and indeed a world, where women are liberated by choices. We've come so far, but we still have so far to go. Mr. Speaker, when I was first encouraged to think about running for the seat of Drummoyne, I thought long and hard. Contrary to what people may think, I wasn't sure I wanted this life just yet. I was encouraged to run because people told me, "You don't have children yet. You're unmarried. You don't really have anything to hold you back." Well, Mr. Speaker, that infuriated me. Do we say these things to men? If those things need to be a consideration, they should be a woman's consideration, and frankly, it shouldn't be up for discussion by anyone else. My motivation is to give back to a community that has given my family and I everything we have. It is my passion for the people of the Drummoyne electorate. It's because I listen and because I stand up for what is right. I want to be a role model for girls, for young people, and for women, so that they can know that they belong in this Parliament, in their workplaces, and in their community. That indeed they can feel empowered to make decisions that are best for them. That merit will truly win and means the best candidate for the job. I want young women to believe in themselves and to be accepted for who they are and what they offer, not to be evaluated by whether or not as professional women we might have a baby or choose to get married. None of that impacts on our ability to do our work and have a career. I want to be part of policy development that brings innovative solutions for working mothers from the perspective of someone that hopes to have children soon and might assist women, hopes to have children and what might assist women experiencing similar circumstances to me. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to be a Liberal. I'm proud to stand with a party that represents my values of family, community, and hard work. I believe in sensible, common sense, and centre-right policies. I believe in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. I will work to ensure that every person in my community, and indeed this state, has the opportunities available for them to succeed. It's why I will advocate for education, starting in early childhood and following on to both public and private schools. I know firsthand how life-changing a holistic education is. I want our local children to be educated in the best facilities that promote learning and with the necessary funding and resources to do so. I know that knowledge is power. I want to empower young people and provide them with options at school to learn practical skills for the future, like how to save, how to prepare your taxes, and how to invest. Mr. Speaker, I value small business, and I value people who choose to start a small business for the opportunities which they give others. I started working at the age of 14. Small businesses gave me my start in life. For several years, I juggled working 3 jobs as I had aspirations to save money for my own home. Working in small businesses taught me how to communicate. It taught me to show initiative, and it gave me the skills to work in a team. These are the skills I have taken with me to this place. My community has a thriving small business hub. It's home to established names. It was the birthplace of the Victor lawnmower, and it's home to those that are working hard and trying their best. I want to see policies that slash red tape, that abolish payroll taxes, that help businesses thrive. More often than not, small businesses are the ones that give young people a go. I don't pretend to know what it's like to own a small business, to worry about how I will pay all of my employees, but I do promise to listen and to consult with my business community so that I can best represent them in this place. In a time where the cost of living for households is rising and where there is increased global and economic uncertainty, it is now more important than ever that politics is about people. It's why I ran a grassroots campaign that focused on talking to people and listening to their concerns. I promise to do that each day of my service. I want to be an accessible leader, one that is seen in the community every day and not just at election time. What people told me during the campaign is that they worry about housing affordability. I'm part of a generation of young people that can't afford to own a home where they grew up. It's a difficult thought that my children may not have the same upbringing that I had. That's why I will work in a bipartisan manner to be part of solutions to this problem. Mr. Speaker, I'm someone that appreciates and listens to both sides of an argument. I try to find solutions that are balanced because I believe good policy is robust and it is based on comprehensive consultation. Throughout the campaign, I spoke to many self-funded retirees that are struggling. I want to advocate for and see policies where their circumstances are better reflected. I spoke to many elderly migrants that worked labour-intensive jobs and saved everything they had to buy property to support their retirement. They often weren't educated enough to understand or trust the stock market and preferred to put their money to physical assets they could see. Due to an obsession by successive governments on land tax revenue, they are now struggling to pay their bills. After paying land tax and all outgoings, they are left with little. This has a flow-on effect for renters and small businesses and results in rising costs. It's just one example where we need to develop policies that consider both sides and collaborate better with the federal government to find solutions. Mr. Speaker, I come to this place having served as a councillor. I was first elected to the City of Canada Bay Council in 2017, and in 2022, I was elected unanimously by all of my colleagues to serve as Deputy Mayor. Yeah, that's right, Labor and the Greens voted for me. I think this shows who I am as a person. I'm someone that works across party lines to achieve results for my community. It is something I will continue in this place. What my time in local government has shown me is that there is an overwhelming need for reform of the planning system. It requires comprehensive policy changes made holistically. Planning that is ad hoc rather than a thorough or integrated process has drastic impacts on local amenity and the environment. I've come to believe that communities are not just made, they are developed through forward thinking. And when we talk about planning, we need better dialogue between local and state governments that considers transport, employment opportunities, infrastructure, open space, and community hubs. For without these things and without this vision, we cannot foster the communities of tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge the 14 members of Drummoyne that have come before me, including my immediate predecessor, John Sidoti. I point out that before me, there's only been one other female member for Drummoyne, and I'm the first female Liberal member for Drummoyne. I recognise the former federal member for Reid, Craig Laundy, for his guidance. I acknowledge all of my predecessors and thank them for their contribution and service to our community. Drummoyne was held by Labor for 49 years prior to the Liberal Party winning the seat in 2011. I am so proud that my community has chosen me to represent them, someone who is born, bred and raised in our community. A little known fact is that in 1968, a young John Howard ran unsuccessfully for Drummoyne. He thankfully went on to lead an outstanding life of public service and inspired a generation of people, myself included. Mr. Speaker, it was the Liberal Party and a Liberal member that delivered a legacy of infrastructure for my community after 49 years of Labor. This includes the $341 million Stage 1 redevelopment of Concord Hospital, the completion of the congestion-busting WestConnex project, an electorate where every train station and ferry wharf is inclusive for all, thanks to accessibility upgrades. 3 new schools and a game-changing Sydney Metro West with 3 stops in the electorate. Mr. Speaker, I too wish to be part of visionary contributions to infrastructure in the inner west and beyond. I will continue to advocate for our community because there is still so much work to do. I will fight for Concord Hospital and the resources and facilities that it deserves. During the recent election campaign, I was proud to stand with former Premier Dominic Perrottet and former Health Minister Brad Hazzard to announce a new emergency department and intensive care unit for Concord Hospital, something Labor did not commit to. I will be working hard to make sure this upgrade is delivered for our community. In the future, I want to see local residents and families being able to access Concord Hospital for expanded services like paediatrics and obstetrics. I want our growing population to be able to access these healthcare services close to home without travelling out of the area. I will advocate for an upgrade to Concord High, the only public high school in my electorate. I want to see better transport for our community, especially buses and ferries, and I will fight for the Metro to be delivered on time because our community desperately needs fast and efficient transport options. I will advocate for our beautiful local environment and encourage active and healthy lifestyles through promoting access to our 35 kilometres of foreshore, maintaining our picturesque bay run and plan the creation of a second bay run. I want our community organisations and sporting clubs to know that in me, they will always have a supporter. This election campaign was won because of our vision for our community. My campaign was about the future, for important investment in infrastructure and for supporting and enabling our local community to thrive. It made me so proud that I had such strong support. I was stopped on the street many times during the campaign by people saying that they'd never seen a local candidate with so many corflute signs in front yards. I had mums telling me that their kids were playing games in the car where they would count the number of signs from point A to point B. The local level of support was extremely humbling. I would like to thank Dominic Perrottet for his support of me as Premier. He visited Drummoyne every chance he could and offered encouragement, both publicly and privately. To the many ministers who visited during the campaign, who helped me and showed my community that I was well supported, thank you. I will not forget it. To every single person in the gallery here tonight, you have contributed to this result. Thank you. My victory is your victory, and I couldn't have achieved what I have without your efforts. And what a mammoth effort it was. To all the volunteers, some who are loyal Liberal Party members and others who just wanted to support me. It is impossible to name each and every one of you, but please know that I have immense gratitude for what you have done for me. Thank you for manning pre-poll and polling booths, for joining me on train stations and ferry wharfs on weekends, and for door knocking with me. Thank you for braving heat waves and rain to support me. This was an amazing effort, and I appreciate all that every volunteer has done for me. To my campaign manager, Hugo, who by the end became an adopted family member, I'm grateful for your time, encouragement, energy, and support. To my campaign team, to Dimitri, Chris Rath, John, Jan, Peter, Ben, Doug, Mas, Laura, Chanel, Aidan, Alexandra, Ben, Frank, Nick, Georgia, Terry, Chi, Simon, Michael, Anthony, Ken, Sandra, Chris, Lisa, and Anne. Thank you. To my family, I love you all so much. I know that you are making a sacrifice for me. To my parents, Betty and Carlo, I'm so proud to be your daughter. Thank you for keeping me grounded, for loving me, for supporting me, and for giving me the best foundation in life that has made me the person I am today. To my two sisters, Claudia and Olivia, I hope you know in your hearts how strong you both are. You are smart, intelligent, and kind-hearted, and you both make me proud. To my grandparents and my Nonna Maria in the gallery, I'm so blessed. I will never forget the sacrifices you made so that your children and grandchildren could have endless opportunities in this country. To Andrew, I love you with all my heart, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life. You are my rock. If I can indulge, Mr. Speaker, I fell in love with you because of the beautiful person that you are, and for our shared values of family. I can't wait to start a family of our own. Finally, to my community, I make a solemn promise that I will lead with humility and serve with my heart in the right place. I promise to listen. I promise to collaborate and work constructively with all of my colleagues to achieve positive outcomes. I wake up grateful each day for the tremendous honour of being your representative elected to this 58th Parliament. I will not take this privilege for granted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleagues.